Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Azshara's Eternal Palace, where finally I was able to run around and explore, and did it open up for me? Yes, it did. It very much has a Tomb of Sargeras vibe. There's no getting away from it. It feels extraordinarily similar, which is what it's supposed to do, I guess. And it finally opened up into the underwater caverns, which we knew existed within the Eternal Palace, but I didn't get to see them last time. But there they are. Massive caves. Now, before we get into exploration, I'm going to show more of that. I will talk a little bit about the two bosses we got to test tonight. These were bosses 2 and 5. Let's start with the good one before we get to the one that is just the worst. So the first one they gave us has had a name change. In the Dungeon Journal, it's actually called the Hatchery. But they have changed the name of this boss to Uzmat, something like that, or Goza, or Orgozoa. It's a Metroid, right? It's a Metroid boss. And this was pretty goddamn cool. It was tuned quite nicely for a heroic boss. Although I want to say here, Blizzard seems to be having a really hard time with the essences. The class inconsistencies between damage dealing is way out of proportion because of the essences. I hope they get this fixed. I really do. Otherwise, they're going to be in big trouble with trying to work out how to manage this system. Because, as we said when we first saw the essence system, some classes just benefit way more from essences that do exactly the same thing than other classes do. And so far, they haven't seemed to manage a balance between there's something really good or really equal for everybody. It just seems to be all over the place. So I hope they manage to figure this out. Anyway, Orgozoa is the most visually stunning boss. A big old Metroid jellyfish that spawns other jellyfish. A relatively simple boss. This was a two-shot for us, but we can show some fun stuff that happened with this boss as well. So it was a simple boss, relatively speaking. Hits the tank extremely hard with managing debuffs. In fact, we actually started the boss with a pain suppression on the tank because the way the tank system works with managing stacks and the damage this boss does is that he can hit you for more than the tank's HP on his first swing. So a very simple fix to that was to have the tanks run in with like pain suppression on to make sure they just didn't get smashed into the floor. But after that, it was super consistent and super fine. And it has a transition as well. So in the first room, you're going to be sort of clumped up, and then ultimately you'll be throwing out these debuffs, and you're basically lightning rods, and he's going to try and chain lightning the people with the debuff. So if you get debuffs, you just move out of the group. Very simple process, and a little bit of a dance revolution on the floor while dealing with its adds, and then dealing with actually DPSing the boss down. So nothing too complicated there. Exactly what I would expect to see for a heroic boss. I think it was totally fine. And then he will transition into his next phase, which actually takes him on a journey. He goes out of the room, and there seems to be whoever's in charge of the development here for a lot of the stuff that's coming in 8.2. You can definitely see the similarities, and particularly a focus on gauntlets. Mechagon is full of gauntlets, especially interior Mechagon, and this is yet another gauntlet. You have to travel a gauntlet all the way down to the boss, which at the moment is bypassable. You can just jump down, use gateways, do things like that in order to bypass the gauntlet. I have no doubt they watched guilds do this, and they will in turn probably create a death wall or prevent you from being able to jump over the side, because ultimately you could get down there so fast that you could just nuke the boss, because the boss will travel down to the bottom into his new room and start channeling a spell, which you have to get down to the bottom and interrupt. But you can get down there before the boss even gets there and just nuke the shit out of him. So I wasn't going to reveal this, but we actually checked some streams and other guilds had also figured this out. So it's not that big of a surprise, and it'll no doubt be changed. Anyway, the idea that probably will go live is that you're supposed to traverse this gauntlet, get down to the boss and interrupt it before it finishes channeling its large spell, and then deal with a very similar situation where you're going to be managing these debuffs and getting out of the group, but you're going to get a whole host of different adds. None of them particularly difficult. We've got some casters, which you need to be interrupting. We've got a big monster that you need to share the stomp. A little bit like Hajatan from Tomb of Sargeras. It's got this definite Hajatan feel to it, with the eggs spawning different kinds of enemies that you've got to deal with in different ways. But nicely tuned. A nice, fun boss. Really kind of enjoyed this one. Not only is it visually appealing, but there's enough to keep you interested, although there's definitely moments of downtime where you're kind of wondering, he feels like he's got too much HP. Let's put it that way. You know, when you've got them enemies where you know how they work, they just have a lot of HP, and you're kind of like, okay, we can be done with this now, which is fine with tuning purposes on a PTR. I have no issue with that. Talking briefly about, that was boss number 5. So the Orgozoa is boss number 5. Boss number 2, the Radiance of Azshara. Oh dear. Oh dear. This is actually the worst boss in BfA so far. By a long way. Like, whoever designed this, like, what are you doing, dude? this seems to be a boss that they've purely thought about ways of annoying the player rather than the player being, like, having fun. And I genuinely mean that. Like, there's no redeemable feature about this boss whatsoever. So, as you can tell, it's got that immersive feel to it. From those of you who raided way back when, large water elemental with a big circular room. And the idea here is he spawns tornadoes under players. You just got to move out of them. They work the same as the swirling axes from King's Rest, essentially. So if you see one spawn, move out the way, move to where it spawned, it will never hit you. And then you get traps spawning around it, and it will then initiate a darkness phase. It was kind of okay on Kill Jaden. It was super annoying on Jaina, and still is super annoying on Jaina. And on this one, it's just annoying. That's all. It's not hard. It's not fun. It's just irritating. And maybe I'm more skewed towards this because I don't play with any sound. So I'm very visual based. So taking away the vision as well, I just find it really irritating. I'm like, it's not hard to avoid tornadoes. It's not hard to avoid these traps you've left on the floor. It's just irritating that you can't see them. That doesn't make that mechanic difficult. In fact, it's pretty easy to still avoid it, so it just feels stupid. Especially as you can... The idea is you'll all go into a darkness phase and an elemental will spawn somewhere in the room. You've got to get round to the elemental, kill the elemental, and then your vision is returned to you and you can kill the boss. This boss was a one-shot for us. It's stupidly easy. We only spent about 25 minutes testing this boss and just messing around with it because it just wasn't fun to do, and it's not hard at all. It's just super irritating. So the whole fight, that's the whole fight, by the way, is avoid shit when you can see, avoid shit when you can't see, keep getting knocked back into shit that you don't even know if it's behind you or not in some cases, and could knock you into water and all this kind of stuff if your positioning's not quite right. Nothing fun about it at all. And also super easy. So you just kind of kill it and you're like, well, thank God that's over. I really hope they do some major changes to this. I really have no idea who thinks not being able to see is some sort of interesting or engaging mechanic. It's really not. It's just annoying. It really is just annoying. So those were the two bosses. One decent one, one absolutely awful one. But then we got to explore around because we only spent about 20 minutes testing. So before they closed off the instance, I got to run around a lot. And boy, oh boy, some very cool structures. It was nice to see that the 4 rooms, the 4 boss arenas we've seen so far, have in fact been the dullest. Even though Argosia's is one of the better ones, they have been the dullest because wandering around the palace did find some very cool areas. Very big open hallways with some wonderful magic stuff going on. Very fitting of Queen Azshara. And then, of course, wandering around a bit more, did find the underwater caverns, which are enormous. They're so big. I was totally surprised by this. A little strange right now, but again, we're not supposed to be here, so it probably won't be this way. But breath is still a thing in these zones. So while I was fine in my aquatic form, the other guys who were wandering around with me, they were running out of breath, and we had a warlock come and give them unending breath in order so they could swim around and see everything. But absolutely huge. Like, you could swim all the way to the bottom of these caverns, which I was very surprised by. And they're gorgeous. They're so well done. Had thoughts of Vashir, all brought it back to this bioluminescent plants and all this kind of stuff. Really made me feel like, okay, this is a proper raid instance with a variety of stuff. Again, somewhat similar to Tomb of Sargeras. It has to be brought back there. Very, very similar. We had the same thing where we entered the same sort of hallway like we did in Tomb of Sargeras. You go into the standard hallway, and then you kind of go downstairs to where Hajatan is, and then into Mistress Sazine. You have that exact same feel, slightly different order, and then areas where you would expect to see things like Sisters of the Moon and the Desolate Host, those kind of areas. So I'm seriously excited to see what they hold for Azshara herself. Where is she going to be? Because, of course, Tomb of Sargeras finished off with ending up on a spaceship fighting Kill Jaden. That's very, very cool. Is that what they're going to try and top with Azshara, or are they going to keep it quite toned down and keep this theme going with it with just the palace and its underwater tombs? That will be interesting to see for sure. But so far, not a bad raid. Not overwhelmingly good, though. Definitely has some downsides. I really, really, really hope they change the Radiance of Azshara, because that boss is garbage, in my opinion. I really hope they change that in some way. Thank you so much for listening, guys. I will see you again. Bye-bye.